The adoption of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, I do want to acknowledge Chief Schreiner for the great contribution that Yana has done over the past weekend with the Christmas tree chipping. I understand that they've had $4,200 contributed to them that will be going to Yana, which is a great local charity. So well done again, Chief, for doing that. So thank you very much. Also, what I would like to do is, since Andrew Berger's third day on the job, I want to put him on the spot too. So Andrew Berger has come to us from Saanich, and he's taken over for Al Fraser as the parks superintendent. And he comes very well recognized from down in the Saanich area, so thank you for moving up here. Are you all settled in now, Andrew?
No, I'm living in my truck and camper out at Seal Bay, and I figure I'd sell my house down there and buy one up here.
Yeah.
My family's down in Victoria still, and I'm just bacheloring in the camper.
Okay, good. Well, welcome, and we'll see you around. All right. So if anybody's got a spare room for Andrew, you may want to talk to him after the meeting. And so we do have one delegation. That's Mike Corkish from the D'Estaire Center. And so Mike, right there, if you'd like to take the podium, you have 10 minutes, and then any questions. Is the podium there?
See my hand shaking as much now. Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for seeing us today. We are just a few of the over 1,000 members of the D'Estaire Senior Centre Association, and we'd just like to give you a little update on what we do over at the centre. We have a pretty diverse group, and we have a wide variety of clubs, activities, and crafts, and which are really well attended. If you look on the back page of the newsletter that I've handed out to the council, it'll give you an indication of just how diverse our centre is and the groups and the clubs that we have. We use just about every inch of that building to its fullest, except for the elevator. It's just not it's not reliable, and as you check, Mr. Berger checks his records, over the past few years there's been fewer and fewer complaints and calls for repairs because it's just not being used enough. There are one or two of our members who have been trained, if you want, to reset the locks on the doors on the elevator, mostly in the downstairs area. It's a big long key you have to insert in a hole and fiddle around till you get this little nipple to go in the notch and you can turn it. That key is being worn out. And rather than replace the key, I'd like to replace the elevator. I know it's a costly expenditure, and the figures I have are from Al Fraser. They range between $80,000 to $100,000. We think that we can help with that cost, and to that end we've started a fund. We started it last March after a meeting I had with Al, and we targeted $25,000. At the present time, in just about 10 months, we've reached $15,000. Not an insubstantial amount of money, and all by donation. I recently talked to Rotary, and they are going to take our cause to their next meeting, and we'll see what they can do for us as well. I am sure we can reach that target goal of 25,000. The elevator itself was installed about 20 years ago. In my humble opinion, it should never have been installed in a senior centre in the first place. It's operated by a three-key system, one on each floor and one inside the elevator. All these keys can be withdrawn, and all the keys can be, turned horizontal and they're not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is when you call the elevator, the call button has to be held in. When you use the elevator, the call button it also has to be in. That's not a big deal for a lot of people, who are young and they have dexterity in their fingers. But for arthritic hands, it's a problem. Some people have even tried to change hands inside the elevator. As soon as you release the pressure, the elevator stops. That then creates a problem. That hasn't happened too often. In fact, the elevator doesn't get used hardly at all anymore. I think we've covered the cost of we've covered the cost of replacement. If you check back on Al's records, at one time when we were dealing with a company in Vancouver, to send a technician over here to basically do what we could do with that one key was costing approximately $600 a visit. So rather than, that's really how we came to know how to fix it. I think somebody watched them doing it one day. Doug, I believe, Doug Pollard. He showed Al. Now there's about 3 of us are trained technicians on this elevator. But that's not an acceptable situation. And I'm just asking for your consideration to help us help you to replace this machine. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Mike. That's good. It sounds like you've really had some ups and down issues with this elevator.
Oh, no problem.
Come on, I had to say it.
That's probably the second bad joke in the year.
Does any of the council have questions for
Yeah.
Mike? Councillor Bissinger?
I've got 2 questions. Thanks for presenting, and I'm excited to see there's over 1,000 members. It's a lot bigger than I envisioned. Do you, in your findings, have you seen whether or not the elevator could be upgraded versus a full replacement for the 80 to 100K? Is there any big repairs or adjustments or upgrades that way that could happen without actually replacing the entire elevator?
Rather than spend good money on, just throw good money at it. It's not a money issue. There's no confidence in the elevator that we have now. You could, slap a coat of paint on and fix the lights, but it's not going to bring back the confidence. It's going to take a little bit more than that. That's why we've started this fund. That's why we're dedicated to.
So it's a full replacement of the mechanical parts.
Yeah.
And then also, was there consideration, I'm not exactly sure the whole layout of the stair house, but is there consideration for a stair lift, one of those acorn?
I looked into that.
I
looked into that, and yes, we could get a chair lift. The problem with that is that because it's not a residential property, it would have to be monitored. Somebody would have to be monitoring that chairlift when it's being used.
It also doesn't help if you've got a walker. You can't use it. You have to get the walker down as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right. Thank you very much, and this is something that we will be discussing.
So maybe you would just explain how the process will work, because this would get referred to budget.
Yeah, we will refer this
And
to
maybe
the
just
budget.
explain so they're not.
Yeah.
I don't want them sitting here thinking we're going to make a decision in a week or anything.
No, this will be referred to the budget process, and we'll see how it fits in with that, and we'll maybe come and talk to you again with some thoughts and try to resolve this issue the best we can. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Normally, it wouldn't take questions, sir, but go ahead.
I just wanted to make a statement, actually, that wasn't mentioned, and that is that there's no way anybody that's stuck in that elevator to call out, because there's no phone or anything.
Okay.
So it's possible for somebody to be trapped in there.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so folks, we do have some other agenda items that won't be pertaining to this. You're more than welcome to stay. However, if you'd like to leave, you can do so as well, and we'll give you a couple minutes, and then we'll carry on with the rest. And we will be looking at this further.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Mark. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, and I do understand. Yeah, we'll take all that into consideration. All right, so we'll, okay. Okay. So we'll carry on, and so we don't have any minutes of meetings, no department reports. We do have the staff report of the review of councillor remuneration. Okay, so the recommendation is that an advisory group be established in order to determine fair and responsible compensation levels for the town of Comox mayor and council. This came about, Councillor McKenna had some questions, and so staff looked into it. And as you've read, there are a few options that we could go. So does council like to discuss any of those? Is there any one in particular, Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, I think just from my own lens, if we are going to pursue anything, I think it should be in our last term prior to election. Because I think that's the best time to give an increase to yourself, is when you potentially will not be elected again. You know, I don't know, that the transparency is like, you remember back to the first meeting we had, and we were voting ourselves raises, right? Well, it's like, I don't think we want to do another vote for raises, because I think it would look not very good. I'm quite satisfied with the wage we're being paid. If we're below market standard, which it looks like we are, maybe we just suck it up for a couple of years, and then in the last term, we look at this. That's just my opinion.
So, Councillor.
Well, I guess, having done this many times, there's never a good time to do it. There's no way around it. It's a bylaw, so it comes to us. We have to vote on it. We've looked at hundreds of ways to not do that, and it's just the way it is. I don't think it really matters when you do it. It gets 2 weeks worth of bad press, and then you move along. I do like the idea of this independent review where we get a few different people to have a look at it and just check and make sure that we're, I think it's wrong for us to just stand up and say, okay, here's what we're going to pay ourselves. That doesn't fly well. But I think if there's some sort of review, just for optics alone, I think it makes sense. I don't think it's really super hard to figure out when you look at averages and where you stand, what you should be doing. But I think it's important. I've often thought that if you actually put a group of citizens together to follow you around and find out what you actually do in a month, that you'd probably get double what you're getting now. So
it's not a living wage.
It's not by any stretch. No. So anyway, I don't think it matters when you look at it. Is my point, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, and one of the things that we had heard, I remember throughout the last election, is that to encourage younger people to be part of a council, and taking away from your employment that costs. And so if we do want to have a diverse group on our council, then we do have to remunerate them and accordingly. I know when I take time off work, it you know, it hits me. It balances out. You know, I use my annual leave and whatnot. So we have some options. Does somebody want to put an option forward?
Question.
Okay, you have a question, but Councillor.
I was just going to make a really quick comment. I think because last year when we did the plan to do the 50% of CPI, I would personally be in favor of doing status quo for now with that and just seeing how things go with next year and maybe an independent review next year. But because there's some method of review on status quo, I'd be happy with that.
Okay. Councillor McKenna?
I'm just curious who the 4 municipalities that we comped against. I don't know if I missed it or if it was in there. Is it in there?
Courtney, Qualicum, Parksville, and Sydney.
What is it?
Courtney, Qualicum, Parksville, and Sydney.
All right, so council, let us know what we want to do here. So Councillor.
I just have, because last year when we did do the raise and there was no, they kind of went, oh, well, they just pulled that number out of wherever, or 50%. Or I like the idea of the independent review because then it gives the public and the community a chance to engage. It means it's not us picking how much we get paid, it's the community, it's the independent review process. I don't think that it can get much more clear than that for the community to not complain, really.
Would you like to put a motion forward on
Sure,
one of the
yeah.
options?
I'll put a motion forward to go forward with number 3, the independent review.
Okay, seconder. Okay, so questions on that? Councillor McKenna? And then Councillor Swift, I think you had your hand up.
So we don't have to have an increase, right?
No.
You can give money away if you want.
No?
No, you can't.
So status quo is
So we're looking
one
at
of the options. You just stay where we are.
We've got a motion now for independent review.
Yeah.
So that's what we're discussing now. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So, Councillor Grant?
So part of an independent review might be status quo.
Yeah.
We come back with it. I mean,
Yeah. This is the community at large who will be looking at this. This won't be us looking at it. So, Councillor,
Just before we vote on that motion, Councillor Ian's.
yes, it's been a couple of weeks, so I got to
Haven't changed it. Before we vote on that motion, do we have any idea of what, I imagine it won't be a huge cost, but saying a consultation process with the public, what the cost of that would be? Has anyone had that in their municipalities? I'm just curious what the cost.
The terms of reference, I believe, specify that it's sort of unpaid. And
Okay,
staff to do
okay.
the rest of the work.
So financially wise, we're not looking at a
No.
large thing. Okay.
No, this is just picking some people out of the community. And we would have to determine how we go about it, pick them, who they are.
So this recommendation is based on the UBCM recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
They recommend to keep council somewhat independent is that staff would pick the people.
Okay.
And the criteria are here, that one would be a former councillor.
Right.
One would be a business person, and one would be a citizen.
Right.
And
Yeah, we had Councillor Swift.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm in favor, I would support an independent review. I was quite surprised to see what the difference was.
Yeah.
So I think it's timely, and I think it should be done. And we might discover that the status quo would remain, but I somehow doubt it with that big difference.
Okay, Councillor McKenna now.
will part of the independent review include reviewing the bylaw?
Reviewing the compensation bylaw
Yeah,
and making
because
recommendations.
it
to
seems
change.
like the bylaw needs to be changed. Yeah.
Well, they would recommend a change or no change to the rate, and then we'd bring forward the appropriate bylaw change.
Okay.
Any other further questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, you're in favor, Councillor McKenna?
I am.
Begrudgingly.
So that's unanimous.
I have so many questions,
Yeah.
and
Okay, but we-
it
yeah.
feels like I'm not allowed to ask them. So I'm,
Oh, no, Phil.
it just feels like Mr. Mayor that you want to go faster. So
No, then can we retract that vote?
no, I'm in favor of independent review.
I just heard you speak about 3 times. I needed to give other people the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
I kept going back to you. If you want to speak more, I don't procedurally, maybe somebody could advise me what we need to do to allow Councillor McKenna to fully discuss his concerns.
Well, I think as the chair, you can offer him the opportunity.
Yeah,
to express,
please.
and if-
Councillor McKenna, go ahead, because I don't want anybody to feel pressured into
No,
this.
I mean, the motion's already made. I voted in favor. I'll stand in favor of the motion.
And there will be more opportunities in the future to give your point of view
Mhm.
when this comes back.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. And we will be bringing it back to the regular council meeting.
It's a committee recommendation at this
Yeah.
point, so it will come back for
Right.
discussion and adoption
Yeah.
or not.
Right.
Voting again next week.
Yeah.
Can I clarify that the motion that council just passed was the recommendation that's on the cover pages?
Correct. Yeah, independent review.
Yeah. By the professor.
Right, by the advisory committee that you folks will pick the people.
Can I just
Okay.
make a clarification then? Could we like clarify that this is like a local unpaid advisory group? Just to avoid the media heat of like, council's spending another 20 grand just to advise.
Right.
You're like, oh,
You know, can I say something? Because what I'm sensing is that there's still some confusion here. I honestly thought we were going in a direction that people had the opportunity to speak and make comment, and now I'm hearing there are concerns. So do we want to dial this back a bit and have a more fulsome discussion? Because I'm okay with that. I felt that the time people were given to speak was adequate, but Councillor Grant?
Well, I think that, everybody's had their say. I think this last little bit is just to make sure that it's, that there's no cost to doing this.
Right, yeah, no,
Which
I
I think
think
is
we
just
established that.
basic advertising. I think she's
Yeah.
saying, can we
Yeah.
put that out in the press, which I think
Yeah.
is pretty easy to do, so, yeah.
Any further comments do we want to make on this? Okay, so we're good with that. All right. We don't have any correspondence, so we'll at this point move to adjourn.
Move adjournment.
All in favor? Okay.